Hello, you're about to hear Good Morning Seminole, our monthly signature event. Please enjoy.
Please welcome today's presenters. We've got David Johnson from the Seminole County Property Appraiser and J.R. Kroll with the Seminole County Tax Collector.
Well, I have to say, at 8 o'clock in the morning, you're here to learn about property taxes. I'm not sure what that says and what we can deduce from that, but we're glad you're here, and I'm glad to be with my partner, J.R. Kroll. What we're going to try to do today is demystify this process that is your property taxes. And I think Member Garrett, when she led in, fun fact, the largest part of your property tax bill goes to, there you go. And we think it's a good investment, so, or at least I do, as a resident of Seminole County. So let's get started, and JR and I are going to go back and forth kind of, and talk about what our two offices do, because a lot of times there's a lot of confusion there. And so we're going to try to demystify this process. This, I'm serious, this is from the Department of Revenue, our oversight agency for both of our offices. This is what the property tax system looks like in the state of Florida, and it's a mess. And literally they sent this out to us and they go, you should send this to your taxpayers and this will explain the process. I don't think so. But anyway, this is kind of a little fun fact here and what we just want to get started with. So let's talk about the two offices. Property appraiser and tax collector are, in fact, constitutional offices. There are 5 constitutional offices in each of the 67 counties in the state of Florida. JR, you have 2 of us here. JR is one and I'm the other one. You have a clerk of the court, you have a supervisor of elections, and of course we all know about the sheriff. He is a constitutional officer also. And why we're called constitutional officers is that we are outlined in the state constitution and we have very specific duties and responsibilities. And the most important piece of this equation is, even though we work with our county commissions and city commissions and school board members, there is no oversight from them to us. We are duly elected by you, the citizens of this county, and our terms of office are 4 years. And again, we have very specific duties and responsibilities. So let's go through that. I'm going to start off with what the property appraiser does, and this is literally what's in the Constitution. Then there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of statutes that follow this. But what I'm supposed to do as your county property appraiser is I'm supposed to locate, identify, and value all real property. All real property in Seminole County. We appraise all tangible personal property, and for the folks in this room, that's a business tax essentially. There's no tangible personal property tax on household goods like there are in other states, but there's about 15,000 of those accounts. And then the most important thing, and we're going to spend a little more time on this in a few minutes, is we administer all the exemptions to taxes that are allowed by law. The primary one being the homestead exemption, and that's your golden key to saving money in the property tax system. Jerry, you want to say what you do?
Yeah, so David's been explaining, about what the side of the actual appraiser does, and what does the tax collector do? First and foremost, I collect the taxes. Pretty obvious with the name. There's numerous other things that we do now for the state that we've taken on, but as far as collecting of the taxes, we collect the property tax revenue for the county, and we collect the business tax receipts also. So all those little signs you see in the frame by the front door of a business, that's what we're collecting for those also, and Airbnbs and everything like that don't pay already through the state that way. We also do our vehicle tag and title that, we kind of taken on that we are the DMV, but we really are not the DMV. We just work as an agent for the DMV. We do driver's license and ID services also for the DMV. We've taken on the Department of Health that we also can do birth certificates through there, so we can have them printed up and brought up as long as it's statewide, we can do that for you. We do concealed weapon permit applications. So when you go take the class and learn how to handle the weapon and take mandatory class you have to take, we don't do that part. But when you're done, you come into our office. We have digital fingerprints instead of the old way. You had to go down to the sheriff and get fingerprints done and mail it all into Tallahassee and wait until you got it back. Now it's all done just instantly by digital, sent up to Tallahassee in our office. And we have 2 locations to do that right now. We're doing it through, I expanded it to Castleberry, and we also have one in Lake Mary. And we also handle the hunting and fishing permits. So I don't know how many people actually get the fishing permits, because I think a lot more people are fishing that don't have a permit. But we don't track that down. We just issue them. So as far as facts and figures, in 2022, we did 537,000 motor vehicle transactions through our offices, and 117,000 were online. 357,000 people came through our offices, and we did 62,000 by mail. It's a lot of that would be if you had to just come in for renewals and such. Surprisingly, a lot of people still come into the office, and rather than doing it. We are changing some things. We're going to be building to get more people faster out of the offices by doing like Amazon lockers. We're starting that next year. So we're going to have where you would just come up after hours in Altamont and be able to just put in a code and pop your locker open and take it after hours. So we're hoping there's a lot of things like that. And then also we did 127,000 driver's licenses were issued in Seminole County. You want to take that next one?
Very good. Sure. So JR gave you kind of a glimpse of what his world looks like, and this is part of his world also. Let me give you a glimpse of what the real estate world looks like in Seminole County. So we're 344 square miles in area. We're the 4th smallest geographically county in the state of Florida, but we're one of the most densely populated counties in the state of Florida because of our geography. To give you some perspective, Orange County is over 1,000 square miles. Osceola County is almost 1,400 square miles. So you can fit 3 and 4 of Seminole counties into Osceola County. So that gives you a little bit of perspective. But about 475,000 residents, and this is where our world comes into play here. About 180,000 real estate accounts that we deal with. About 135,000 of those are residential in nature, which is what we're going to spend a little bit of time on in just a second. We have about 40,000 apartment units in the county, and about 7,000 commercial properties. Our taxable value at the end of 2022 was over $42 billion, and the market value, which is the difference between all those exemptions that are allowed by law, and we're going to talk about, and portability, et cetera, is almost $65 billion. So you can see how much those exemptions play into the equation here.
And one of the things with David saying about us being the most populous, one of the most populous counties, is not only is Seminole County really small, but really only a third of Seminole County is even buildable. It rolls right down the I-4 corridor. You're going to have the Wekiva Preserve on one side and the rural boundary on the other. So you're not going to be able to do high density living in those. You can do just single family homes and certain size lots and all. So that really just compacts everything into a small area right down the I-4 corridor. Next thing I was going to talk about was going to be the tax bill. So you get your tax bill, and everyone doesn't know a lot of how that works. So we do have it when we mail it out to you. We have a breakdown and numbered on that tax bill itself. And you can see from the display up there, it has the copy of what it is and have little numbers on each one explaining what they are. How it works is the local government is going to assign your millage rate. So that's going to be whether you're in Sanford, city limits of Sanford, there's going to be additional millage, higher rates than if you're in unincorporated Seminole County. So those things kind of differentiate about what your actual millage rate will be. Now, you could have $1 million house in the city limits of Sanford and $1 million house in Seminole County, Sanford, and you're going to pay more in the city of Sanford. So it's just going to be a higher area. The property appraiser is who determines the value of the home. So after it's been determined on the millage rate, now the property appraiser says that's what that $1 million home is worth. Both combine to determine our annual tax roll. So once we get those numbers together from all the municipalities and the county, and everyone puts it all together and tells us this is what the numbers are, then they send those numbers to us, verified by the property appraiser, and then we send out those bills on November 1st. Usually we send it out a day or two before. No big secret there, but then we collect and distribute those taxes and then redistribute them to everyone that needs it, from the different cities, the school board, the sheriff's office. Everyone then takes that money that we have allocated to each one of those. So as far as the next one here. So when we send out these tax bills, we sent out 172,000 tax bills are printed and mailed out. That's a big postage bill. Then we don't get a discount on that. We pay the same as everybody else would. Then we have it was over over $500 million. $624 million was total tax collected last year. We distributed back $620 million back to the county and the school board and such. So here you can see the breakdown. We have Seminole County Board of Commissioners got $230 million. That's like 45% of it. The school board got $242 million, which is 39%. And then the other cities got the remainder amounts that came through. The sheriff goes into that school board, into the county board of commissions amount and stuff. So total of what I sent back after we've collected all the revenue, because a lot of times now prices went up, taxes went up, we still collect and we have excess revenue. So I returned $4.3 million back to Seminole County last year, so which was a pretty good number for us. So it's additional things that we can do in the school, and the county can then decide where to put that money, and they can say, we need more school buses, the sheriff needs, more facility, we can decide, they will decide where that money goes. It's just, we just return it back. We have a discounts to your tax bill. So if you pay your taxes, switch to the next one here. If you pay your taxes by November 30th, because we send it out on the 1st, if you pay it by November 30th, you're gonna get a 4% tax bill. If you do it by December 31st, is just the following month, it's a 3%. Then January, end of January, it's 2%. February is 1%, where we are now. And then taxes are due no later than March 31st when they become delinquent after that. So here we'll go through with David on the escrow review stage.
So the good news is that you're here today. The folks who have not paid their property taxes already, you get a 10% discount because you're here today. Just kidding.
And you're like,
JR's like, what's he doing? So congratulations for those that have not paid and you're here today. But
did I look surprised?
Obviously. But so you think you've paid your property taxes. About 80+% are probably paid through mortgage companies, escrow accounts, et cetera, in November, because they get the maximum 4% discount. So you think you're done with property taxes. Everybody's moving on. It's the first of the year. Let's not talk about property taxes anymore. But here we are, and you've gotten a letter, probably within the last week or two, maybe, from your escrow company if you have a mortgage. And it's going to say one of two things. We've done an analysis because they have, not because they like you, they have to do this by law. They're saying, you're fine, we're moving forward, we paid your taxes and there was in your insurance bill and there were no issues. Or you got a letter that said, you know what, we were short. We paid the collector because he doesn't get around, he's gonna get his money, okay? But by the way, you owe us, okay, because we were, in this example, $1,200 short. So we're gonna up your escrow payment $100 a month. So those are the phone calls that JR and my offices are receiving right now. It's like, what the heck? What's going on here? And so there's a lot of nuances that go into that. And some of it's insurance, okay? In fact, thank goodness for the insurance companies, because they make JR and I look good these days, because it's like, it wasn't property taxes, it was your insurance. But sometimes it was, in fact, your property taxes. And who it affects the most is those new property owners. So let's talk about January the 1st in my world. January the 1st is what we call the date of entitlement, date of assessment, and the date of entitlement to any kind of exemptions allowed by law. And that's not just in Seminole County, that's for the other 66 counties across the state. So a lot of stuff gets reset on January the 1st. From the appraisal standpoint, we're out there valuing property as we speak to see what the value is going to be for 2023. We look at the market data and make adjustments if we need to, neighborhood by neighborhood. But the tax bill that you paid in November, or that your mortgage company paid in November, was based on the value as of January the 1st, 2022. So if you're a new property owner and you bought in 2021, you may have seen a big increase in your property taxes because, again, things get reset as of the first of the year. And this is where exemptions come into play. And again, the homestead exemption is your primary exemption that we administer here in the office, about 105,000 of those. And that's your protection, if you will. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. We get about 8,000 new applications a year, and I hear from 7,995 of them because when they get their new tax bill, and we're going to talk about why that happens, and why the reset occurred. Now, we have several good realtors in this room who are very professional and do a lot of great disclosure. And again, this disclosure happens at closing or the time you sign your contract. That, by the way, the taxes that the old property owner was paying, just ignore that, because that's not going to be your tax bill. And it's going to be something significantly higher than that. And so, but a lot of times everybody gets caught up in the moment of a new home, and they may or may not be paying attention. And then the problem is a year later, you get the bill, and then that's where we get the phone call. But in addition to homestead exemption, other things that protect people from huge increases in their property taxes are seniors exemption. There's many exemptions for military, both combat related and non-combat related folks who have been injured in the military. Widowers, and this grandparent-parent exemption is if you build an auxiliary building onto your home, a convert part of your home to put your parent or grandparent in, that there's an exemption allowed for that too. So this is where the demystifying starts. So you get a $50,000 homestead exemption. We get, like I said, 8,000 new ones of those a year, and that's great. That's going to save you $600 or $700 a year, no matter what you do. The other benefit that you receive from the homestead exemption is what we call Saver Homes. This was a constitutional amendment that was passed in 1998, and it mimics the Proposition 13 in California. And we were having the same issues that California was having, and we tend to just be a couple of years behind what happens in California. They were seeing rapidly escalating property taxes, and it was forcing people out of their home. The couple who bought the house in the 1950s were paying $1,000 a year in property taxes are now paying $7,000 or $8,000 a year in property taxes. This was the California model. That was certainly the model here in Florida too. So in '98, the voters said, we've got to stop this. We want to protect that primary homestead, that primary property that people live in, from rapidly increasing values. I will tell you, last year, we saw about a 20-25% increase in property values, okay, in this county, about 1.5% to 2% a month. The folks who just bought, they were seeing that. I mean, that's why we're getting that phone call. That's why you're seeing a rapidly increasing amount in their property taxes. Their neighbor next door that lived in the house for 10 years, they don't know what's going on. They're watching Dancing with the Stars, and people are out having a barbecue, and they're saying, what's going on? They go, my taxes are fine. Yeah, because theirs is $2,000, and their neighbor's is $2,000, and the neighbor's is $6,000. So we get the call, and they go, there's got to be a mistake. There's huge inequity. And I'll be the first one to tell you, the property tax system in the state of Florida is enormously inequitable, okay? It does not treat everybody the same, but that's the way it was designed, okay? Property owners who've owned their properties longer get a bigger benefit than the new property owner, and that causes the have and have-nots. So what Save Our Homes does, along with your $50,000 homestead exemption, is no matter what's going on in the marketplace, your value cannot increase by more than 3% or the consumer price index. And these have been the caps over the last number of years. So remember, we've had 15, 20, 25% increases in property values across this county. But those folks who had homestead were only seeing in 2018 2.1% increase in their value, all the way up to 2022 when it was 3% because the CPI was 8 or 9%. We all know about that. But again, that's what's written into the Constitution. So again, those folks are protected, and they're not having any kind of huge ill effects from rapidly increasing property taxes. But the new people are certainly feeling that effect, and that's what you're hearing from your neighbors. And some of you may be victims, is probably not the right word, but but who also are participating in that. So one of the things that kind of helps level that out a little bit as far as those rapid increases is, let's say you had your house here in Seminole County in 2020 and you decide to sell for whatever reason, and maybe just move down the street or across the street. You are able to take with you what we call portability. You're able to port with you the savings that you had on your old home to your new home. And it's a very simplistic way of looking at it. But in this county, this is an average. In addition to that $50,000 homestead exemption, it's about $113,000. So on top of that $50,000 exemption, you're also being able to take with you on average $113,000, whether you're moving to Miami-Dade County, to Washington County in the north part, panhandle of the state of Florida, or across the street. So when you apply for your homestead on the new property, we're going to take care of the homestead exemption piece, and we're going to take care of this portability thing. People go, well, what piece of paperwork do I fill out? We take care of all that for you. It happens kind of behind the scenes. So it's just a one-stop shop. And again, we're trying to get you as many benefits as possible and trying to lessen that shock of moving to a new home and potentially having a big escalation in your property taxes.
Well, and a funny side note is the property appraiser that started the Save Our Homes was Wilkinson down in Lee County, and my wife was friends with his son in high school. They knew the family.
So, and since we're amongst friends here, Ken was a colleague, obviously, and a mentor of mine, and he retired a couple years ago. He used to call Save Our Homes, Save Our Jobs, okay, as property appraisers, because it certainly was, I was not the elected official before Save Our Homes came in, but I remember those days when there was no Save Our Homes, and we had people lined up in the hallway, and it was not a lot of fun. So here is JR and I's contact information, and I think that's my contact information.
That's yours.
And
yep.
then JR's is, and again, good news is we have such a good relationship. We're literally across the hall from each other. Our staffs have a great working relationship because half the time people call his office and they need us, and vice versa. So, but it all works out really well. And with that, I think we have some time for questions. Do we not, Rebecca?
Yes,
Okay.
we do. So we are going to take just a few questions. Nathaniel's going to come around with the mic, and please wait to say your question until you get the mic, because we do record this for our podcast. So anyone that couldn't make it can hear this information later.
Good morning. Can you please give us an update on the sales tax, the penny sales tax, and when it's sunsetting and what's happening with that, if you have any information on that?
Well, we don't handle that, the penny sales tax on our side. That's done through the county itself. Not we just do the property taxes itself. So yeah, we don't collect on.
But it does sunset in 2024, and you as voters are going to have to make that decision if the county decides to continue to levy it for another 10 years. You will get an opportunity in 2024 to decide if you want to do that or not. So. But that money does not run through his office.
No, we don't take that at all.
Good morning. I had a question. My husband and I just purchased a home in Orange County, but our primary residence is here in Seminole County.
Right.
We're going to lease that home and move to Orange County, Wekiva, over there.
Sure.
And I'm wondering about the portability. Can we still port that, what we've been paying for 22 years, over to the new home for primary residence?
Yeah, so what will happen is when you apply for a homestead exemption in Orange County, we're sorry we're losing you as a resident here in Seminole County, but we understand. As soon as you apply for homestead exemption in Orange County, they are going to ask you on that application, whether you do it online or in person, where did you live before, okay? And you're going to give this address here in Seminole County. And with that, the mechanisms all begin. And they're going to contact us, or they're going to look up electronically on a portal on what the amount of savings you were doing here in Seminole County was, and they're going to port that to your home in Orange County. Now, there's sometimes a misperception that it's one for one. I was paying $2,000 here, I'm going to pay $2,000 in Orange. Typically, that doesn't happen. Rather than paying $4,000 in Orange, you may be paying $3,500 or something, because usually the houses are not exactly the same. There may be new construction, whatever, millage rates or tax rates, as JR talked about. If you live in the city of Sanford, okay, for example, in this county, versus the city of Lake Mary, where we are now, literally across the street in some cases, you'll pay significantly more property taxes in Sanford than you do in Lake Mary. Not because I'm doing something different with the values or how JR's collecting the taxes, it's because of the tax rate that's applied to that. So, yes, ma'am.
And if we're not selling that home, we're leasing it, so we still own it.
Right.
We still get an exemption of both.
No. That's how, no.
We'd all like that.
That would be nice.
That's how we get in trouble real quick. So you will lose the exemption on the house in Seminole County. You're going to see probably a significant increase in the taxes on the house here in Seminole County because it was protected with the Save Our Homes.
Because usually it's a sale that will flag it and say this, the property appraiser like, okay, what's it say on public record? And then they come in and still have to appraise the value even at that point. But just the switch from one homestead
That's
to
the
another
trigger.
is going to be the trigger that's going to tell them change the price.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is the last question we have time for.
Brain Stanley, Jet Set Printing, Ed Bookbinder. Okay, so many of us are faced with, like, if you bought a home 25 years ago and you paid $200,000 and your house is, obviously gone up. So with the tax rate, like the probate is 113 and the homestead is 50. So if you paid $200,000 25 years ago, let's say, and now you're looking either to stay where you are, put money into the house in Seminole County because you're staying in the county, or move and you're paying like $800,000 for a house, let's say. You take $800,000 minus $163,000, because those two numbers would add up. Then your tax, what are you taxed on, and how do you calculate like the millage rate to see what your property taxes are before you move? And you don't get the surprise like 2 years later and you get like a $7,000
Got it.
tax.
You're almost there.
Yeah.
You're almost there. So to your point, let's assume that all those averages are right. You buy an $800,000 house, so you're moving up in price point. You will, let's say for all practical purposes in this example, you would have $163,000 worth of savings on your new $800,000 house here in Seminole County. So yes, that's exactly what happened. And for you not to do surprises, there's two ways of not being surprised. You can go online on our website and you can do what we call tax calculator, and you can plug in those numbers and it'll spit out a value for you. It's going to ask you what city you're moving to, because that's a key component of the equation. What you're paying, if you have portability, you're $113,000, and if you're going to homestead it. And it's going to calculate a number for you right then. Or certainly those folks who want to interact with us, we are glad to do that on a daily basis. We have a great staff of folks. And sometimes what will happen is folks say, I'm going to build this house. I'm not sure it's not even there yet. Can you give me an estimate what that value of this 2,000 square foot house in Lake Mary that's going to look like this is going to be? And we can get you a good ballpark number, and we're glad to do that. So, yeah, certainly use us as a resource.
Thank you guys so much.
Very good. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thanks for listening. To learn more about the Seminole County Chamber, please visit seminolebusiness.org or check us out on our social media at Seminole County Chamber.